Okay, good evening, all of you. We'll start the session. Am I audible to all of you? Can you just message me whether my voice is clear or not? Yeah, perfect. Okay, okay, guys. So we will start the session, and in this session, we will be discussing about this particular topic: fact, value, objectivity. So what we did yesterday, we were talking about non-positivism. So we are in the second chapter where we have discussed about sociology as science, and then positivism and non-positivism all are connected. And one of you were asking me related to this. Auguste Comte is talking about establishment of cause and effect relationship, trying to see things in a causal relationship. Causal relationship means establishment of cause and effect relationship. That's what we have discussed in positivism, right? There was a spelling mistake in that. It was written as casual. That's not casual. It is causal. I don't know whether that was your doubt or, but this is causal relationship between the realities one can observe. That's what you need to find out. The cause and effect relationship. I think that point is very clear. Okay. Now, guys, here this is a very important topic, but at the same time, very easy topic because time and again in different areas we have discussed about positivism, we have discussed about science, we have discussed about non-positivism. Everywhere we were using this, right? What is objectivity? Some case you will talk about objectivity, somewhere you talk about subjectivity, and even in positivism also towards the end we are concluding that although you stress on objectivity, absolute objectivity is not possible, neither desirable in sociology. So what exactly you mean by objectivity is what we are going to discuss here. Guys, objectivity means it's very simple. Now understand it, then you can read the PDF. Just one line or one concept is there. What is that? Freedom from all personal biases. So you are a sociologist, obviously you're a human being, and we are studying human being, right? And I'm a Muslim or I'm a Hindu, and I'm studying a religion, so Hindu religion or Christian religion or Islamic religion or whatever it is. So can there be a bias because I am from a particular religion? There can be, right? The person who's conducting a study, he may malign other religion and he will try to support his religion. So that is what you mean by bias. Why this bias comes? This bias will comes because of certain beliefs in terms of religion. That is a belief, that is your belief, that is your faith, or some ideas which you carry in mind, and that's what you call as values. So guys, what do you mean by value? Let me tell you this point now. Values means the beliefs that we carry in our mind. So we carry certain beliefs in our mind, and based on this belief, we not only carry these beliefs, we will try to evaluate situations, and we will try to establish the superiority and inferiority of anything, preferability, rejection, right, desirability, undesirability, etc. What do you mean by values? Values are the ideas or beliefs that you carry in your mind. So when I ask you what is your value, your value means you carry certain things in your mind. Now you look into anything, you will start evaluating those things based on the values you have. That means the beliefs and ideas that you have, right? And based on that, you will judge the superiority, inferiority, preferability, rejection, right? Desirability, undesirability, etc. For example, you are living in a patriarchal society. Okay, so in a patriarchal society, so what kind of values you will have? Patriarchal value, patriarchal mindset. So what is the problem with that then? The way you think and the way you act and everything will be based on that values. So values are the beliefs and ideas which you carry in your mind. So this example, if you take in a patriarchal society, we have patriarchal value. That means the beliefs and ideas that we carry, the mindset is patriarchal. So when you see a female and a male, who is superior? Male is superior. Who's desirable? Male is desirable. Who's preferred? Male is preferred. So that is what you can see later, or you will see that son preference, right? Preference for male child. Male child is considered desirable. Male is considered superior. That is the value. That is what you hold. So what do you mean by value, guys? Values are the beliefs, right? Son meta preference is an entirely different concept that you keep on having a child till you get a male child. That was a term which was introduced in Economic Survey 2017. Son male preference, that is a normal thing. Okay. So guys, value means beliefs and ideas that you have. Is it just there in your mind only? No. You start evaluating everything on the basis of value. That's where what comes? The bias comes. You will be biased towards male if you are in a patriarchal society. You will be biased for a male child, right? So that is the reason why female infanticide and all is happening. You got my point. So what do you mean by bias? Bias is because of certain values. What do you mean by objectivity? Freedom from personal biases. There should not be any bias. There should not be any preconception. There should not be any prejudices or anything. That's what you mean by objectivity. So when I say I'm studying objectively means I'm studying not as a North Indian or South Indian, not as a Hindu or a Muslim, not as a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or Shudra, not as an upper class or a lower class, not as a male or a female. I will be studying as a trained investigator without any preconception, no prejudices, no assumptions, no presumptions, no values, no beliefs, nothing. Right? It's a objective study. That's what you mean by objective study. So what will affect objectivity? It is a personal bias. From where personal bias will come? From values. From where? From values. So what you need to do to remain objective, the most important thing that you need to do to remain objective is there should not be any values involved in your study. That's what you can say value neutral approach. So what do you mean by value neutrality? No values in study. So value neutrality is a precondition for ensuring or achieving objectivity. If you need to get objectivity, you have to be value neutral. There should not be any value which is going to be influencing your investigation. You got my point so far? So this is the key point, and this is what you need to know. If this is clear, then there is no problem with this topic. It's over. The topic is over. So I repeat, guys, this quickly I'll repeat. Objectivity means freedom from personal biases. That means no personal biases in investigation. Now, from where this bias will come? This bias will come from certain values. What are values? Values are the ideas and beliefs that we carry in our mind. Based on that, we evaluate some situation: superiority, inferiority, preferability, rejection, desirability, undesirability, etc. So based on values, we evaluate. So when you conduct a study, if your values are influenced in that study, then that means there is a bias in that study. You are a Muslim and you are biased against Hindus. You are a North Indian, so you'll be biased against South Indians. You are a female, so you will be biased against male. Right? So that bias should not come. That's what you mean by objectivity. So there should not be bias. Bias will come from value. So avoid bias. How? No value. There should not be any value. What is it called? Value freedom or value neutrality. Value freedom or value neutrality. So can I say value freedom and value neutrality is exactly equal to objectivity? No, I can't say that. But can I say value neutrality is essential to achieve objectivity? Yes. Yeah, facts. Facts means the reality. What is fact? Fact means something which won't change the reality. So guys, I'll give you an example to understand fact and value now. So fact means the exact meaning only. There is not, nobody is going to ask you in sociology what do you mean by fact. This is just given in this paragraph. The actual difference is, let's suppose I'm going to ask you with respect to joint family and nuclear family. Okay. So if I ask you what kind of family system we have, the fact is, the reality is we have a nuclear family. Correct? We have nuclear family because most of the people, these are different individual family and they are living separately. So the fact is nuclear family. That's a typical fact that has to be accepted. But in terms of value, if you see, that is our desirability, undesirability. What we would love to have, we would love to have a joint family, because even though we stay as nuclear family, we all are connected with our relatives, right? Any marriage function or any life crisis, we all are in connection and in touch, and we are ready to support also. This is not, you cannot see this kind of setup in Western society. Their nuclear means completely nuclear, totally independent. But that's not the case in India. We are staying nuclear, but we will be connected all the time. So the fact is nuclear family, stay separately. live separately. But in terms of value, if you see, it is a joint family. I won't say joint family, there is a jointness, right? So value means the preferences. You got my point? Now, guys, in sociology, you will come across these words, norms. What do you mean by norms? Norms and values. Values, just now I have told you. What do you mean by norms? Value free, value neutral, both are same. I'll come back to that question, value free science. I'll discuss that. Okay, value free means there should not be any value. That means, is it an objective study? That is a question. Guys, norms means it is the expected behavior. It is the expected behavior. So like you as a student, what is expected from you while you are sitting in the class, sitting silent, properly listening to the class? This is what expected behavior. That's what norms, but that's not law. You got me? Not just discipline, right? So like again, if you go for a marriage, you should not wear a white sari. That's a norm. That's the expected behavior. The reason, you know, right? Okay, so there are some norms which are followed in the society, but this law and norms are different. This is the expectation, norms, expected behavior. Law is something different, right? See, you can violate norms. Nobody is going to question you. Even if you make noise here in this class, I cannot punish you, or I can't do anything, right? But that's not the case with law. If you break the law, if you violate the law, you will be punished. There will be prosecution. You will be punished. And if you violate the norms, that situation is what you call as anomie. Anomie is a situation of normlessness, violating norm, or the person who violate the norm is called as deviant. Deviant act means those act which you do which is not desirable. See, expected behavior means what is desirable, right? So you do something which is not desirable. You're making noise in the class. That is not desirable. That is a deviant act in the class. Yeah, I'll be slow. So norms means expected behavior. That means what you are what is expected from you in an interaction process or whatever it is, right? Between when you talk to a female, how to behave to a female, or when you are eating, how to eat, or right in public and all. So these are norms. When you violate norms, that situation is what you call as anomie. That situation, the person who violate the norm will be termed as deviant, because the act of violation of norm is anomie or deviance. The person you can call as deviant. So what do you mean by deviant behavior? You guys are making noise in the class. That's a deviant behavior. That's not desirable. That is not expected. Okay. On the other hand, you violate the law. This is the situation of punishment, and this will be a criminal. Here deviant, here criminal. Right? Here there is no punishment. Here there will be strict punishments. So that's the difference between norms and laws. So that's about norms. Now, what do you mean by value? Just now I have told you, values are the beliefs that we carry in our mind, based on which we evaluate whatever we see, the situation, any situation. We evaluate family, we evaluate marriage, we evaluate religion, we evaluate anyone, female, male, anyone, based on the values that we have. So when you do that, this involves biases. Why? Because your values are not same as my values, right? South Indian, North Indian values will be different. Hindu, Muslim values will be different. Within Hindu itself, two families' values will be different, right? So between regions it vary, between caste it will vary, and values are based on your parental background, your family, your friends, your society, your caste, your religion, your region. So many parameters are involved in value. So this is completely subjective. That's why I'm saying whenever values are coming, there will be bias. So what you need to do, there should not be any value in the norms. Means the set of rules which is coming over a period of time, right? When the interaction between people increasing, right? Initially, if you see, when population was very less, between people, for example, let's suppose in this class we have only 20-30 students, there is not much rules or anything required. I can interact easily, right? But when you have 100 plus students, then it is very difficult. So we need to have a set rules. That's the reason why I'm not allowing you to unmute in between the class. Once the class is over, we are discussing that way, right? So this is the way, you will see when population is increasing, what will happen? The interaction between people increasing. So we need to define certain things, how you interact with some person, how you interact with female, how you interact with old people, right? So these rules need to be there. That's what norms. So you can see when society developing, norms will keep on increasing. Not developing, when evolving, norms will keep on increasing. But people will conform less to norms when we are getting developed, because now we may not follow norms. Why? The reasons and all we will discuss in Durkheim's class, because we are not concerned about society. This is so highly individualized society, heterogeneous society. Individualism is very important. Now if somebody is telling you not wear, don't wear white sari when you go for marriage, you will only wear that, right? Because it looks good for you. So you are not concerned about what society say. Yes or no? So that's what happens in the modern society when individualism is high. Organic society, organic solidarity. But some of you will not understand these words, because these are something which we are going to discuss in Thinkers. Guys, I'll do that. You don't want to worry about this. Since I have discussed about this word value today, most of you might have heard norms and values together. That's the only reason why I have discussed norms here. Otherwise, at this juncture, it is not required. Since I have discussed about norms, you might have some confusion between norms and laws. That's why I've made it very clear. So I hope this is clear for you. When you violate norm, that situation is what? Deviance. Deviant behavior. When you say deviant behavior, that is violation of norms. Something which is not desirable you are doing. That's what deviant behavior. Criminal behavior means you are breaking the law of the land, right? Norms are not direct connection with values. Understand it clearly. Okay, so now we are back to this topic. I hope you understood. Fact is the same. It is a normal thing only. Value means it is a belief that you carry. Objectivity means, now one more time I'll tell you, objectivity means free from personal bias. So there should not be any bias. Now I'm saying from where the bias will come. I'm saying the bias will come from values. Okay, so if bias is coming through values, how can you ensure objectivity? Remaining value free or value neutral. There should not be any value in your approach. So value neutrality is an essential condition for achieving objectivity. And so you can both call simultaneously objectivity and value neutrality. You will see something like that also. Both are one and the same. You can take that way also. Because if you try to be value neutral, you can ensure objectivity, right? So objectivity and value neutrality almost same, but not exactly same. Value neutrality is a precondition for achieving objectivity. Objectivity is the larger goal, right? And what is required for that? You should remain value neutral. There should not be any personal bias. There should not be any value or belief or anything, assumptions, prejudices, presumptions, nothing should come in your investigation. Guys, you got my point? That's about fact. This, they will not ask you this part. They will ask you question like value and objectivity, right? And yesterday's question, somebody was asking me whether sociology is a value free science or not. Okay, that I think we can answer towards the end of this discussion. Guys, now we need to tell, is it possible to remain completely objective in sociology? It is difficult. So what you can tell us, we will be discussing about objectivity. Will we ever discuss objectivity in non-positivism? No, we discuss only in positivism. So which approach is followed in positivism? Inductive approach. Now you know the process involved in inductive approach: data collection, interpretation, theory building, testing, right? So let's start with this data collection. These are the different steps. Now you can tell in each step values will come, right? Data collection, for example, the methods you use for data collection, you may use as per your convenience, right? Even though if you are using some so-called objective methods, for example, interview method. Now you are going to interview another person. So don't you think your questions will be biased based on your religion or region or your values? Yes, your questions will be biased. On the other hand, the person who's answering the questions, even though you are straightforward and objective, but the other side, interviewee, can he be biased? Yes, he can be biased. So can we say data collection will be perfect? No. There are obvious limitation in data collection in sociology, whatsoever methods that you're going to use. So can we say it is a value-free science? No, right? Second, closed-ended interview means like yes or no. Even then, there can be bias. Okay, the way you ask question, there can be bias. The other person may not tell you. See, you will not necessarily. There is no compulsion. No, you need to answer things correctly. Nobody, rarely people will do that. Then interpretation also, you are interpreting based on your approach, your perspective, right? There will be. So for example, if Marx is talking about religion and Durkheim was talking about religion, guys, why I'm taking this example is because we are going to see them in detail in the coming session. Marx will consider a conflict approach, or try to highlight the dysfunctions of religion, and he will say religion is the hurt of hurtless world, soul of soulless condition, and an opium of masses. So for Marx, religion is not good. He is highlighting the dysfunctions. Religion is giving a fake promise that you will get heaven in the next world, and opium means just pumping the masses. It's like a medicine, right? So you just propagate these ideas so that the workers are ready to get exploited in this world, so that you are expecting heaven in the next world. So it just acting as an opium, right? And then that is what Marx says. Durkheim says religion is integrating people. Guys, how is it integrating people and everything we will discuss when it comes to Durkheim. So my point here is the interpretation of the same phenomena, although both are doing in the similar context, are different. Okay. Similarly, division of labor, both are seeing in different way. So two people, based on their perspectives, it will vary. Now, value lauded interpretation will lead to theories which are also subjective in nature, right? So my point is, can we say sociology is a value-free science? No. First of all, can we say sociology as a science? Yes, that we understood, we can say, but not similar to natural science, and we have made a proper conclusion for that. But can we say it is value-free completely? No. Why? Because human beings are studying human beings, and even if you follow this approach, inductive approach, and this process, but right from data collection to interpretation to theory building, everywhere the researcher's bias can come. Okay, so now that is a very subjective question that you need to answer from your side. I've given you the elements which is required for that answer. Now, when you go through the PDF, you'll get more contents also for this particular question. Okay, guys, I'll start from here. You just read this first two paragraphs. I've just added some important points there. Initial sociologists try to develop sociology on the lines similar to natural science. Perfect. We discussed all these things. In this context, one of the most important precondition for any body of knowledge to qualify as science was objectivity. Okay. Now, what is the difference between objectivity and value neutrality? Objectivity is the larger element where there should not be any personal bias or anything. Value neutrality is all about remain neutral from all values so that you can avoid the biases. The bias will come from values. So you need to remain value neutral. So value neutrality is a precondition for ensuring objectivity. That's how you need to understand. Objectivity means freedom from personal biases. Objectivity is an approach in which the attitude of a scientific investigator is detached, unprejudiced, value-free, and free from biases. Now, what do you mean by value? Values are the basis of biases and subjectivity, and they flow from different preconceived notions like caste, culture, religion, ideology, etc. Okay, guys. The personal bias flow from different types of, now from where the personal biases will come, no comma here. Personal biases will come from values in society. Value, now what is value? Value is an idea through which an individual evaluate about desirability, undesirability, preferability, rejection, superiority, inferiority of anything. Okay, so this is very important. What I'm saying is objectivity means free from personal biases, right? So personal bias will come from values. Value means it is an idea or the beliefs based on which individual evaluate his situation. Okay, so what you need to remain objective? Value neutral. No value. If no value means no bias. No bias means you can achieve objectivity. It's a circular argument only. Okay, so there are large number of values. Now, what are the values? It could be religion, region, language, right? Caste, anything. Thus, what is required to be objective is freedom from all these values and personal bias, or value neutrality, or value freedom. Okay. Thus, value neutrality is a basic precondition for achieving objectivity. If values are involved, there is no question of objectivity. You can never. So, value neutrality is a must. Since its emergence as a distinct discipline, sociology is often accused of facing the problem of objectivity. Right now, the areas where you can compromise on objectivity, the problem of objectivity occur at different levels in sociological research. The first stage, if you take, guys, I'm talking about inductive approach here. Why I'm not discussing about deductive approach? Because deductive approach mostly we have seen in non-positivism. They are not concerned about objectivity, so they favor subjectivity. So in deductive approach there is some subjectivity, so we don't want to discuss that. We need to discuss about inductive approach and the steps related to that, right from data collection to interpretation to theory building to testing. That's how it will go, right? So first, data collection, that means accumulation of facts. Now, what we need to say here, we use methods, better methods, but still personal bias can come. So, although sociology uses number of scientific methods like observation, questionnaires, interview, but in the application of these methods, the value bias of the researcher may hinder the achievement of objectivity. You got my point here? You can write as an example. The observation method is often accused of generating faulty information due to bias of the observer. In the famous study of Italian criminal by William White, the observer finally stopped acting as an observer, generating no information. And he stated, I started as a non-participant observer and ended as a participant non-observer. See, he wanted to study the Italian criminals. And what he stated towards the end, I started as a non-participant observer. I started observing them, staying away from them, but ended as a part of them and stopped observing. That's how the influence of values and by this thing will come, right? In the same manner, the interview method may generate faulty information because of the bias of the interviewer and interviewee. Both the questions you ask will be biased based on your values. The answer that the other guy tell, that also will be biased. There is no clarity, there is no surety, right? Now, second stage, interpretation of facts. The interpretation of facts can also be colored by values or various viewpoints or subjective biases. A researcher with functional bias, I've given you an example of Durkheim, may tend to interpret some extreme forms of inequalities in functional terms. Okay, so that is not necessarily, that is not correct. You cannot justify manual scavenging by saying that poor people are required to do that kind of jobs. You can't justify that, right? That's what you mean by functional bias. I'll come to that, guys, later. Functional approach and functional bias is different. If you're biased towards this, then you try to justify everything. Formulation of theories, that's the next stage. So value loaded interpretation. Already value loaded interpretation of facts may generate theories which gives only one-sided view of reality. Thus, the resulting theories is influenced by the bias of the investigator. For example, Durkheim. No, I'm saying, see, the way you interpret something, here the bias can come. For example, I'm talking about functional perspective. What the functional perspective will do? They'll try to see things in a functional way. That's normal. Inequality is normal. Crime is normal because it is doing some functions for society. Inequality is doing some function. But when I say functional bias, that means you're moving beyond a functional perspective and you're trying to justify everything. Inequality, extreme inequality you're considering as functional, that is not accepted, right? And you see, you are saying manual scavenging is functional. That's not, desirable. Or crime is functional. Because of that, you are saying a rape of a minor is functional. Can we justify that? That's when you see, just because he's a functionalist, that's a functional bias. Okay, that's not functional approach. That's a functional bias. That means there is a limit for functionalism also. Okay. So theories will also be colored by bias. Durkheim generated functional theory of religion, whereas Marx considered religion as an opium of masses, right? Opiating the masses. Both were writing in the similar material context present in the 19th century. In this way, the problem of objectivity influences sociological investigation. Ensuring objectivity has been the main concern of sociologists since its emergence. Various steps have been suggested in due course of time to help sociology to achieve objectivity. Now, what we need to do, we need to discuss how can you ensure objectivity. Guys, how can you ensure objectivity? Two things is what you need to write. Use proper methods, and you guys are going to get a lot of examples from Durkheim and from Weber, though not sure whether they can ensure objectivity or not, but still they are giving methods. Second, proper training of the investigator. These are the 2 points that you should be writing. Other points I have given here, if you can remember, that's fine. If not, 2 points, what? Proper methods. And you guys are going to get a lot of examples, so no worry. Proper training of the investigator. These 2 points must be there in your answer. Beyond that, organized skepticism and everything I've added here that you can see here. Objectivity can be ensured by proper training of the investigator. The investigator should confine himself to his own area of competence and should be properly trained to use the methods. For example, Weber considered training as an essential prerequisite for ensuring value freedom. So, proper training. Objectivity can be ensured by making available the result of investigation to organized skepticism. This will help to reduce the bias of the investigator. Guys, what do you mean by organized skepticism? It's a different version of criticism. It's like this only. You as an investigator, you conduct the study and you'll come and you'll present. So you have colleagues and you have friends who are in the same field, different other sociologists. You will be presenting the study. So suppose you have conducted a study on domestic violence. Okay, and you are a female. So there may be a possibility that your experiences will be added in that study and you will be totally biased. There may be different other viewpoints. So when you are coming and presenting in front of these guys, these people, what they will do, they will tell their viewpoint, their viewpoint, their viewpoint. So what is actually happening? It's not criticism. It's actually what happening? Enriching the knowledge by sharing different viewpoints. So when you can incorporate different other viewpoints into your study, then that will remain somewhat objective. So that's what organized skepticism. One point which you can write. Okay. Sociology has attempted to deal with the problem of objectivity by propagating various concepts which help in ensuring objectivity. Since its inception, sociology has formulated scientific methods to be used in sociology. Guys, proper methods and proper training. These are 2 points which you should be writing. And yeah, different methods we will be discussing, like Verstehen, social facts, indirect experiment, comparative analysis, causal pluralism, ideal types. Don't worry about these methods, only the words are difficult. We'll come to see, we'll discuss that in Thinkers. So though I've added here, I am not interested in discussing at this juncture, because you guys need not mug up this at this point, because all these we are going to discuss. Ideal types is a topic which you need to study. Verstehen, again a topic. You can expect a specific question also from all these. So some sociologists even went to an extent of suggesting that sociology should refrain from studying what ought to be, instead should study what it is. Guys, do you remember, yes, last day when we discussed about emergence and all, sociology should go for prediction, what it should be, what it is going to be, right? What ought to be. No, never do that. If you do that, you can't do that, because you cannot predict the behavior of human beings. So if you try to avoid this, and if you study what is the present, what it is, then somewhat you can remain objective. Okay. In late 19th century, this you can read. Non-positivist ideas gained strength, and it was argued that complete objectivity is neither desirable nor achievable. So later, these guys are very subjective, right? So now there is no question of objectivity. You can have subjectivity, because they are claiming that it is neither possible nor desirable. Why it is not possible? Human beings studying human beings, so bias will come. Why not desirable? For the same reason. It is not desirable also. Okay. So that's it about objectivity. You can read this. I'm not just completely reading the PDF, everything else which is important we have discussed here. Yeah. So if you want, I'll repeat once more. Now, at least this time you have to be very clear. Okay. So the question is about objectivity. So what is objectivity? Objectivity means there should not be any personal bias, no bias. Okay. Now we need to tell from where this bias will come. This bias will come from various values. So how can you avoid this bias? There should not be any value. This is what you call as free from value or value freedom or value neutrality. So I'm saying this value freedom and value neutrality is must for ensuring objectivity, because if you are free from value, the chances of bias is less. So one of the precondition for ensuring objectivity is value freedom. So guys, now this question that you have asked me last day, whether sociology is a value-free science or not. Is it a value-free science? No. But what we can do, we can go for proper methods so that you can eliminate values to an extent. You can go for proper training of the investigator. Again, you can eliminate to an extent. And finally, you need to tell that in sociology, objectivity is neither possible nor desirable. So it have values, and later non-positivist and all accommodated the values and subjectivity also. You also need to tell what do you mean by value, how values are compromised in sociology, and what are the steps you can do. So it should be a neutral answer. You should not completely say it, no, not at all value-free science. You need to say that there are hindrances, there are problems in achieving completely value neutral investigation, but we can try to ensure maximum possible objectivity by proper training, proper methods, organized skepticism, etc. Okay, so there's a very simple answer. You can see previous year questions. They are repeatedly asking this question. Alternate year, you get question on objectivity. A very important topic, but a very simple topic.